One of the most bizarre things that can happen to anyone is to be stuck on the road in the middle of the night, with nothing but a dark expanse of nothing as your companion. But there is something worse than being alone in the dark, not being alone in the dark. Today, we are going to be looking at some of the most heart-racing experiences that truck drivers have had. Ready to learn about the not-so-friendly companions they have met? Good, let's go. But I warn you, if your heart isn't strong, you probably shouldn't wait to hear number one story. It's absolutely chilling. Have you ever seen a shapeshifter? I know, it sounds bizarre. Why would anyone think of a shapeshifter as anything other than a cooked-up story from a science fiction novel? Well, you're right, except that you're not. A trucker actually did come face-to-face with a shapeshifter, and although he lived to tell the story, many others may not have been so lucky. According to him, he encountered the shapeshifter while working a job called Meet and Turn, an eerily suspicious name, because why does anyone have to turn when they meet? And what are they turning into? Was it a hidden code for shape-shifting? Let's find out. The trucker explained that in this kind of job, a truck driver living outside of a city will drive a load halfway to its destination. Then, a different driver will meet him at the halfway point, pick up the delivery, and take it to its final destination. Easy, right? Well, that's what the trucker thought too, until that day. After doing the same job for several months without any event, he realized he always got to the pickup point 1 hour before the other driver arrived. The trucker arrived on schedule as usual, around 3 a.m., to the empty and largely silent pickup point. Since there was a lot of time to wait, he decided to pass it by taking a short nap. As the night progressed, barely 10 minutes into his nap, he was forced to open his eyes because of the loud barking of a nearby dog. At first, the trucker brushed it off as nothing and adjusted his body a little to better help him go back to sleep despite the noise. But the noise did not reduce. Instead, it began to get louder, drawing closer and closer to his truck until he realized he couldn't ignore it anymore. So instead of ignoring it, he decided to inspect what was making the dog bark. Maybe there was something dangerous in the area. Maybe the dog was trying to warn him about something. He didn't know, but he sure wanted to find out. So he sat up, turned his headlights on, and peered out into the darkness to find what the anomaly was. What he saw left him motionless and speechless. He looked into the direction of the barking, did not see a dog, and that's when his heart began to beat faster. Instead, he saw, on the other side of his window, staring back at him with a pair of crazy eyes and a little front from his mouth, was a large human being of around 35 years. Just as their eyes locked, the man let out another bark filled with anger at the trucker. On instinct, he lurched his hands towards his keys and turned the ignition. As soon as it came on, he began moving slowly away. But then it got even more weird. The man, dog-barking creature, started chasing his truck while still barking, just like a mad dog will do. He floored the pedal and put enough distance between him and the mad man dog. In his words, he doesn't take naps on the job anymore. Would you? What's worse than running into a shapeshifter? Well, number 2 definitely gives us an answer. What started out as a normal driving experience for this truck driver soon turned into a thrilling night in which he didn't know what to expect. According to him, he had been on the job for a little under a year, and he was getting good at it. Everything was normal. He'd run his deliveries in the dead of the night to get to his destination in one piece. Plus, the solitude of the night driving was good for him. However, one night, he learned that being alone may not always be the safest bet. On this night, things started out normally. They always do. He received a package which he was to deliver, and he set off as usual. The road was clear and he was hitting good mileage. As he drew near his destination, he realized he was already ahead of his schedule. His eyes were getting heavy from all the silent driving, and he decided to clear his truck and have a nap. His truck cabin was big enough to house him, and so he cleared the truck off the road at a truck stop a few hundred feet from the highway. The first thing he noticed as he arrived there was how quiet the truck stop was. Usually, truck stops are lively and full of other truckers sharing a drink or some stories, but he shrugged it off, thinking it was quiet because he was early and things would get more lively as time went by. He used the restroom and got some food inside the truck stop before running to his truck and turning on his portable TV to see a movie while resting. As the hours went by, he got engrossed in the movie. But something broke the sound of silence he had been enjoying. He paused his movie and listened a little more closely. It sounded like someone was walking outside his truck. He didn't make a big deal about it, although he found it weird that someone was walking close to his truck when there was a lot of walk space around. For certainty, he decided to use the restroom at the truck stop again, after which he would go to sleep. It was pretty late now. As he stepped out, he inspected the area surrounding his truck, but there was no one there, just a couple of other trucks which he met earlier. He went in, came out, and got ready for bed. He slept for a few hours, but something woke him up in the middle of the night. As soon as he opened his eyes, he heard a sound coming from inside his truck. There was something inside with him. He was facing the truck wall, and so he couldn't see anything, but he could not steel his mind enough to turn his face around. There were rustling sounds like someone was going through his personal items. He decided not to do anything about it. Instead, he lay as still as he could, pretending to be asleep and hoping that whoever it was would find whatever he wanted and get out of his truck. After a while, things got quiet again in the truck, but then the noise returned. He turned his head very slightly and saw the silhouette of a man standing inside the truck with him. He decided again not to say anything because he didn't know how the man would react, pretending to be asleep. He heard the sound of his heart beating fast in his chest and hoped the man couldn't hear it. Then things got even worse. The weird man started walking towards the trucker until he could feel him just standing over his bed. He lay as still as he could and tried to control his breathing so his fake sleep would look natural. After standing over him for a while, the shadow seemed to rescind from him, and then he heard the sound of his door open and close. He lay still for a long while after the truck became silent. Then eventually he summoned the courage to turn around and open his eyes. When he did, the truck was empty. Whoever it was gone. He inspected the locks on the door and the windows, and surprisingly, everything was locked, just as he had left it. Then he went on to look through his personal belongings, and that's when he realized that his wallet, his watch, and some other belongings had been stolen. Someone had been in the truck. When he got out quickly and called the cops, when they came, they discovered that the lock on the passenger side had been broken. Nothing more could be done because there was no face to work with. He went on to work with the truck company for about another year before he quit trucking. But this incident lives evermore in his memory as his scariest trucking moment. Can things get more chilling than knowing you're not alone in your truck? You bet they can. Sitting at the top of the scary moments is the trucker's story. He worked for Costco, taking extra toy deliveries in Kentucky during the holiday season. Being a fast driver, they called him in late and gave him a delivery to run as quickly as possible. The time was close to 3 a.m. when he began to feel a cold, tingling sensation all over his body. He felt it was just tiredness trying to creep in and kept on driving. After about 15 minutes, the road began to get foggy. So foggy that he couldn't see anymore. He pulled to the side of the road and decided to wait it out, especially as there were hardly any other cars on the road. But then things got weird. After about 5 minutes of waiting, his truck went dead. The engine turned off. The headlights went dead. Nothing. He tried the office radio, but it was dead too. He picked his phone, but the signal was dead as well. As he sat in the truck in silence, thinking of what to do next, when suddenly he heard a cry coming from deep in the fog. At first it sounded like a child crying, but slowly and steadily it morphed into a crying of a woman. Although he's a big man weighing 250 pounds and standing at 6'3", then he refused to get out of his vehicle. However, he would down his window and shouted into the fog, "Anyone there? Need any help?" Just then, the crying stopped, and before he could get used to the silence, he heard an evil, sinister laughter. He quickly rolled up his window, but the sound of the laughter increased, as if it was responding to how scared he was. Then just like it started, it stopped out of nowhere. As soon as it stopped, the fog began to clear and suddenly his truck came back to life. Faster than his truck would have liked. He put his legs on the gas and sped out of the area. He pulled up in the closest truck stop, went into the bathroom and poured water on his face, asking himself, what the hell did I just experience? And that's all from us, folks. Have you heard any other chilling stories from truckers? Do you think we messed up the ranking with these stories? Let's talk in the comments. And be sure to like and subscribe so you can be updated when next we upload another chilling true story for you.